school, actually the same medical school you went to, and the first pharmacology course I took was never forget that all drugs are toxic. They have serious potential side effects, and always use lifestyle, natural, nutritional approaches as your first line of defense. Don't do more harm. Protect people's safety first, get to the cause.
Our show's also pressed hard on some broader controversial health issues, like, for example, what's happening in the environment. And yet, I must say I've gotten a lot of pushback, not so much from physicians, but actually the media on some of these stances.
Well, we recognize that whatever position you take, you're always going to hurt somebody else in their pocketbook to a degree. And we have, it's a strong industry-powered that affects government, affects health authorities' decision-making, affects like the American Dietetic Association, American Heart Association, our government's decisions, the medical profession, medical studies published in legitimate, high, prestigious medical journals are influenced by industry standards, by pharmaceutical companies paying for sponsoring or interpreting the research, and there is a lot of opposition to somebody attempting an approach to get people well, to lessen their dependence on medication, maybe the industry people that are attacking you right now. So I think we have to consider the context of the environment we live in.
So the question you probably should all be asking yourself, I did for quite a while, is what's the motivation? Why now? Many in the media claim it has to do with my Senate testimony last June on weight loss supplements. But we stopped mentioning any of these products a year ago. So it's got to be something else. And the clue, it turns out, is in the doctor's petition. At the center of this is criticism of my call to action that all GMO foods should be labeled. Specifically, a show I taped recently about a genetically modified Arctic apple. Look at an apple. You know, when you cut into an apple, and you've all experienced this, you bite into it, there's going to be an enzyme that tells the apple to turn a little bit brown over time. This is why your kids, as we heard earlier, sometimes don't want to eat these things, and it is a problem for manufacturers, especially when you can't keep these things looking fresh. So how do you avoid this browning process? The answer lies inside the cells of the apple. This is where Okanagan Specialty Fruits went. So there's the rind of the apple up there, and these individual little things are cells, all little cells there. So you remember this from high school biology class. Inside these little cells, there's a blueprint. It's called DNA, right? And that blueprint for an apple tells the apple a lot of things, a lot of instructions. Like, for example, please be green or red, be smart. And they changed it, so the gene doesn't work the same way. So it turned off this ability of the apple to turn brown when it's cut into. Not when it's rotting, but when it's cut into. So critics argue, and this is an important issue, critics say, just because you turned off one trait doesn't mean you haven't influenced the other ones. Could you make it less nutritious? Could you impact what color it turns? And more important things you don't even know about. Could those have been turned off? So the USDA has signed off on this GMO apple based on the fact they do not have a harmful effect on other plants. So this is going to be sold in our country. Now the FDA has not yet weighed in on how safe they are for you and me. But for me, this is always a big concern. We don't know the harmful effects on our bodies, and so we're basically engaged in a bit of a science experiment. How much of a problem is this? Let's have that conversation. I invited the president of Okanagan Specialty Fruits, that's the company behind these Arctic apples, to join me. Neil Carter, welcome to the show. So, we're going to address some of consumers' concerns. We're going to have an open conversation. We'll hear from others on the other side of the aisle later in the discussion. How confident are you that you can just turn off one little part of the DNA, the blueprint, but not affect the rest of the apple, either making it less healthy for us or in creating other kinds of problems?
Well, I'd say I'm 100% confident. We've had these in the field for 12 years. You know, I'm an apple grower myself. I don't want to introduce a product in the marketplace that, you know, doesn't deserve to be there.
You really need to do a proper safety assessment. I would point out when a similar use of this technology is used in pest control. Last year, the EPA's Scientific Advisory Panel said that further questions needed to be answered. USDA ignored that.
I respect anyone who tries to make it more convenient for Americans to eat healthy foods, like produce. We don't do enough of that. Good work. And all sides of any scientific argument that affects your health.
And
in fact, we actually reached out to Okanagan
all
Specialty
GMOs should be
Fruits,
labeled and put some
and they are the creator of the Arctic
lemon
apple.
on the apple to keep it from going brown.
Their company and the Arctic apple. Evidence-based discussion is essential when it comes to a topic as complex as that Dr. Oz